Hello, good evening, this is Diecast Luna. I hope you're all doing well and welcome back to another episode of Vintage Matchbox Mondays. Episode 42, I believe, of Vintage Matchbox Mondays. And this week's episode, I actually had someone ask me last week, or maybe the week before, I can't remember now, it was a while back, asked me if I have, how much older superfast do I have in my collection? Do I have any older sort of superfast from sort of 69, 70, and the earlier stuff with the more narrow wheels? I think they're a fan of the narrow wheeled superfast. Sorry, and I do. I have quite a lot. So I've picked out about 8 or 9 castings to look at, and they're all in reasonably good condition. I call them survivor condition. They're not mint, but they're in nice condition. They're stuff that I've picked up from car boot sales over the last year or so. So I thought that's what I'd do this week. I have bought some cars. I did buy some cars, funny enough, for this week, but I might just show them during the week. And I fancy, like I said, someone asked me if I had any more, because a lot of, as you know yourselves out there, a lot of the super fast cars back in the day, they started off really thin. They weren't thin wheeled for very long. Then they got slightly larger, and then they got even larger. To be honest, a lot of the super fast before they actually changed over from Lesney to Universal Toy, they actually weren't that super fast. Really, the wheels were quite slow. But anyway, enough of the talk. Let's get into what I'm on about. So, first one I'm going to show is this truck. I believe it is a refuse truck, or over here we call them bin lorries, dust carts. But this is something I got at a car boot sale not too long ago, last year now. And as you can see, it's got some wear on it. But let's have a little look underneath. I think it's a Ford. Excuse me. So there we go, Matchbox Series number 7 refuse truck, made in England. And I believe this is around about 1970-ish. I'm just trying to look. Sometimes they have the dates, but I can't see it anyway. But anyway, this is an earlier superfast, as you can see. But it is pretty cool. It does still function. So there you go. That slides back, as you can see. So pretty cool mixture of metal and plastic. But yeah, there you go, Ford truck. But I'm not too fussed about all this. It is nice to have stuff that is absolutely mint and out of packets. I do like that. But I also like this, what I call survivor cars. So that's going to be the first piece. So pretty cool. Then the next piece is going to be, I believe it's an Alfa Romeo. I always forget the name of this one, but this has got proper 70s styling. But again, this is another one. Excuse me, allergies again. This is another. All of these today are car boot finds. But here we go, Matchbox Series number 73, and it is the Alfa Carabo. Made in England. This one's got copyright 1970. I haven't looked up any information on these today to find out when they first started. I know there's some other variations of this, and I have a couple. I think I do have one of the other variations of this, but I didn't get it out. But as you can see, this is slightly thicker. Like I said, the thin-wheeled variation, as far as I'm aware, it didn't last very long. Possibly a year, maybe a little bit more, and then they switched up to these slightly wider ones, and then, like I said, they just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And in my opinion, because obviously my era for me was about sort of 77, 78, 79 was my favourite year. I like the later Matchbox and the changeover to sort of the early 80s, because that's what, when I was a kid, that was the cars I grew up around. So a lot of these were excuse me, a lot of these were before my time, but the wheels did get bigger and bigger and bigger, and these did roll really quite well, as you can see, because they were trying to compete with trying to compete with Hot Wheels. So These earlier superfast wheels were quite cool. But anyway, it's not in too bad a condition, as you can see. It is again in that survivor condition. This is a pretty cool one. I think this one is the field car. Again, they did an earlier version of this. This one is dated. It might say the date, it may not. Let's have a little look. So this one says 69. But I know they did an earlier version. It had yellow wheels, I believe, and like a hard, like a plasticky tyre. Again, in pretty nice condition. Has its roof. Has a spare that is relating to what would have been on it originally. But I prefer this super fast version. And they made many variations of this. I believe they did a white one. And they even made quite a lot newer versions of this as well. But so this is around about 1970, 71, I presume. I don't know 100%, because like I said, I haven't really researched these today. But again, it has got the earlier style wheels, and again, rolls really well as something of this era. So pretty cool, and again, in quite nice condition. And most of these cars, they all cost me around sort of the £1 to £2 mark. They weren't expensive. This is a particularly good example of the earlier wheel. So here we go. This is a Ford F100, I believe. Let's have a little look. Matchbox series number G, I believe. Is that number 6? That's a 6 Ford pickup, but it is based on the F100. But again, there really are quite skinny wheels, and some of them were, as you can see, they did have they were really quite skinny. They had almost like they were very similar to the Hot Wheels. So I think they were trying. But again, these roll quite nice. And also some of the early pieces would come out with the skinnier wheel. Like, I'm trying to think now what they were called. Like prototypes would sometimes come out with a skinnier wheel. And then if the casting became established, they would sometimes swap it over to the thicker wheel. And also, I think a lot of it was as well, because a lot of these castings were carried over from the late 60s. So they weren't really designed to fit chunky wheels. They were designed to have the sort of traditional black plastic wheel, you know, the standard sort of wheel that came on these. And so it was quite easy to swap them over to the narrow superfast. But as the superfast got thicker, the castings had to be changed. But this is pretty cool. Again, still has its roof, still in a nice white colour. These usually fade or break or crack. They weren't made out the greatest of plastics back then. And again, this is quite an old piece. This is probably from about 69, between 69 and 70. Just having a little look. Can't see. But again, car boot sale, not expensive, and it's in nice condition. This is a particular favourite piece of mine. This has got a bit thicker superfast wheel, but it's still quite an early car. So a little look. So it should say Matchbox Superfast number 32. I can't see. Lighting is rubbish. Here we go. 32, and there's the Maserati Bora 72 copyright. And as you can see, they did start to thicken up. After about 70, 71, they did start to thicken up. But these wheels, again, these were, if we get it back so we can see the car, these were nice wheels. They did roll really quite well. Probably the best rolling wheels they did, I think, was this particular style. As you can see. Because there's that little thin edge in the middle they ran on. So obviously the thinner the edge, the less resistance. But like I said, they did play around with them a bit. But again, in really nice condition. Has its little paper sticker on the front. Still has nice opening door action with a nice little snap. And again, car boot sale, not expensive. And again, I have another version of this somewhere. And again, they made many variations. Actual fact, funnily enough, one of the ones I've not long bought is a variation of this, and it's the last variation they did of this, I believe. in black, but again, that'll be at a later video. This is a particularly popular piece among collectors, and this is the Porsche, and I believe it's the 917. So a little look, is it 917 or 910? 910. So there you go, Matchbox series number 68, Porsche 910, and this is in remarkably good condition. Again, I only paid £1 for this, and I couldn't believe it when I seen it. Admittedly, it was a bit dirty. It cleaned up really well, and the sticker is amazing because these are just paper stickers from back in the day. And again, hardly any marks on it. A few little chips, nothing to complain about. And again, it's got them slightly narrower, super fast wheels again. So there we go, and it should. That's a nice roller. And I guarantee if you put some of these down the track, some of these down the modern track. I mean, I've tried some of these on the Hot Wheels, the newer Hot Wheels tracks that my sons have got, the ID tracks, and these really go round. These really do go around. These would give Hot Wheels a go for their money. They really would. Or at least the modern stuff. Not all of them, but some like this. And the other thing is, though, I wouldn't really risk putting these around because these have lasted all this time. But some of the more play-worn ones I've got are good for the track. But pretty cool. So that is the Porsche 910. And again, that should be from early 70. Yeah, 1970 copyright, so 70, 71, probably 71 by the time it turned to these wheels, I expect. Another particular favourite. This is the Lincoln Continental Mark III. I can't remember now, so a little look. Movie 2, just says Lincoln Continental. A little bit more tatty, but these are fetching quite serious money. This is probably one of the more tatty ones, but again, it's all there. Boot functions nicely on it. Usually that bit's missing. The glass is usually broke on these. I think a lot of this is, like I've said before, they get tossed about when people take them to car boot sales. They don't get placed, you know, like when I've sold a few cars that I've got doubles of. I always put them in a little, what have I got in your hand? These little plasticky bags. It doesn't take long to slide them in there, and it really does stop them from getting, you know, chipped about. They're starting to fade a little bit now, but a lot of this is just because the paint was so thin back then. But again, it's got the thinner, super fast wheels, and again, this is one of the ones that again had the plain wheel version. And these are These are the cars that are quite often counterfeited. I've watched videos on people that have made variations of these that don't exist to try and get people to, you know, get a more valuable piece. And I think it's the seafoam green plain wheel version of these, I believe, that's worth about £13,000 now, if you can find one. But I'm not really fussed, as I only collect for the fun. I'm not somebody that makes money off them. But anyway, so that is the Lincoln Continental. And the last piece we are going to show is this. Now, I always get the name on this wrong, me too. This is the BMC 1800 Pininfarina. All right, Pininfarina? I don't know. But again, narrow wheels. I have 2 or 3 versions of this, all in the same condition. Now, I think this was a concept car. It almost looks a bit like a Citroen, but I've been told this was a concept car, and again, still has nice snap to the doors. Again, no cracks in the glass, which is unusual. These suffered back in the day from cracks in the glass, pillars breaking, because the castings were quite thin, but very well made. And again, all these cars have all been cheap. They've not been expensive. Anyway, that is today's video on the older Superfast, or earlier Superfast. And like I said, I may do a part 2 to this. As always, as I'm doing this, I could have carried on showing cars. I've got Cortinas here. I've also got now, there was one that I wanted to show. Just bear with me very quickly whilst I unlock my little box that is next to me, because I lock my box that's below this, because my youngest son quite often tries to get in, and I don't want him to catch hold of any of my tools. But this is a good example. Now, I've been after one of these for a long time, and this is near mint, not mint, but near mint, and I paid £5 for this, which is not expensive. And I was so happy to find it that when I got home, as you can see, it's in lovely condition, that it had a cracked pillar. But I'm not too fussed. I'm not going to play around with it. The door still functions. It's not really affecting the car, but it shows that after time, because the pillars are thin, they do just crack. And I've had it when you restore cars like this, pieces like this. I was doing work on one car and the roof ended up completely coming off, because, I mean, this one wouldn't do because you've got this, you know, this piece here from the back quarter is quite solid. But again, I won't touch this, as at the moment it's safe and it's fine. And again, I was after this for so long and I found one, and it is the UB2 Matchbox Series number 67 Volkswagen 1600 TL, basically the fastback. But anyway, so that is this week's video. Let's just put these two like this. Please like, share, subscribe, stay tuned for more Vintage Matchbox Mondays episodes, Wednesday nights Movie Car Mania, and Friday night customs and other videos. And like I said, if this one's a popular one, I may do another one, a part 2, as I do have quite a few more older superfast in my collection. Here we go. This is a good example of how they ended up. They did end up, and there you can see they didn't roll, right? You can hear the noise. That's how they ended up. But anyway, I'm digressing. I will see you all very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.